calling the joint hearing of Human Services and Health 1 p.m. calendar. Present live is me, and on Zoom conference we have Senator Misalucha, Senator Favela, and Senator Ocasio. Chair, for you.
Good afternoon. For the Health Committee, we have myself, Vice Chair, Senator Baker, Senator Moriwaki, you, Chair, as a member of the Health Committee, and Senator Favela.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the Zoom meeting and YouTube live stream event will include, well, I said the 3 p.m. calendar and as well the 1 p.m. calendar and the 1:05 calendar. In the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end this hearing due to major technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business at 3 p.m. On March 30th, 2021, in room 225, and a public notice will be posted on the legislature's website. So first up, SCR 95, SR 74, requesting the governor to convene a working group to develop recommendations for an effective communications with limited English proficient persons and persons with disabilities during disaster and after emergencies and natural disaster. First up, we have the Office of Enterprise Technology Services and Support. Are you present, Douglas Murdoch?
Not available, Chair.
Okay, next up, Catherine Chen, Hawaii Coalition for Immigrant Rights and Support. Okay.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and committee members for this opportunity to testify on behalf of the Hawaii Coalition for Immigrant Rights in support of this resolution. In addition to our written testimony, we support the proposed amendments suggested by Hawaii Friends for Civil Rights. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next up we have Amy Agbayani for Hawaii Friends of Civil Rights and Support. And I see Amy.
Aloha, Senator. Thank you very much. The Hawaii Friends of Civil Rights strongly supports this and is extremely grateful to the committee for hearing it. And we do have a friendly amendment which is included in the testimony for your consideration and inclusion. Thank you very much for hearing this resolution.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, no one else having registered on Zoom. Those who have provided written testimony are Disability and Communications Access Board and Support, Department of Human Services and Support, Judiciary and Support, Office of Language Access, Comments, Catholic Charities Hawaii and Support, Medical Legal Partnership and Support, Ethnic Education Hawaii and Support, Ali'i Interpreting Services and Support, Kanani Kai and Support, Christine McPherson, Eleanor McDonald, Thaddeus Pham, Rod McDonald, all in support. And for SR 74, which is the companion, we have Department of Human Services and Support, Office of Language Access, Comments, and Christine McPherson and Thaddeus Pham also in support. Anybody else wishing to testify on SCR 95, SR 74? Seeing none. Members, any questions? Okay, seeing none. We're going to go ahead with decision making. And Chair's recommendation, is that we adopt the changes in HCR 121 HD1, that basically removing from SCR 95 SR 74 the paragraph on page 3 from lines 36 to 39, saying, be it further resolved that the working group is requested to identify necessary resources and costs to effectuate the purpose of this measure, such as information technology, software translation costs, and interpreter costs, and instead insert about 4 paragraphs breaking down what the working group is requested to do, such as, number 1, assess the current status of communication access with persons with disability and limited English proficient persons during natural disasters and emergencies. Number 2, assess the current communication needs and challenges across the government entities during natural disasters and emergencies. 3, identify information technology resources and other resources and costs. And number 4, identify and propose legislative solutions and submit recommendations to the legislature. And no other amendments. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, since I'm going to be taking a vote for Human Services. So for SCR 95 HMS, Committee on Human Services, Chair's recommendation is to pass with the announced amendments. Chair votes aye. Senator Ihara is excused. Senator Ocasio.
Aye.
Senator Misalucha.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Okay, my recommendation is adopted, and same votes and same recommendation for SR 74. For health, I'm passing it on to you.
Okay, for Health Committee, same recommendation, SR 95 and SCR 95 and SR 74. The recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Senator Moriwaki? Aye. Senator San Buenaventura?
Aye.
Senator Favela?
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation on SCR 95 and SR 74 is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're adjourned to 1 o'clock calendar.
Now, to hear SCR 119 and SR 93 requesting the Department of Health to change its eligibility criteria for the home and community-based services Medicaid waiver for individuals having intellectual or developmental disabilities or mental illness. First up, we have the Department of Health in opposition.
Thank you. Good afternoon, chairs. My name is Mary Brogan. I'm the administrator for Developmental Disabilities at the Department of Health. The department respectfully opposes this measure. The basic reason why it's the eligibility for the 1915C Medicaid waiver for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities is really approved by CMS, by Medicaid. And what it requires is that people have an intellectual or developmental disability and that they also meet a level of care where they would be served in an institution for people with intellectual disabilities if it were not for the home and community-based services. So they have to have those conditions, the level of functioning and their impairment due to an intellectual developmental disability. Changing that eligibility would be either a different kind of waiver or basically the fact that people with these other conditions that are named in the measure are already served through other programs, primarily the 1115 waiver. And so if the state were to change that eligibility, they would be risking or saying that they would be providing services for these broader groups that are named in the measure through state funds. So we think that it would have considerable impact fiscally, and it probably is not the best way to go to broaden any kind of support for other populations besides people with intellectual developmental disabilities. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. Next to the Hawaii Disability Rights Center.
Thank you, Chair. We're in strong support of the resolution. We didn't seek the sponsorship of this, but when I saw that Senator Favela introduced it, I was really happy, and so I wanted to thank Senator Favela for doing that. This is an issue that we've been concerned about for a long time. I'm not necessarily under any illusions that the department is going to do this, even if you adopt the resolution, and I'm not surprised that they're necessarily opposed. But our position is that The state statute is very broad. It defines developmental disabilities in terms of physical or mental things that it impacts various activities of daily living. It's a pretty broad definition. And then the department is supposed to promulgate rules to carry out the purposes of that. Up until 2014, there were more diagnoses that were included. And I'm not necessarily suggesting that a mental health issue should be confused with a developmental disability or eligible for services. Certainly things like dementia, the onset date of that would be later in life, presumably, so it wouldn't be eligible anyway. But things like spinal cord injuries or neuromuscular injuries, prior to 2014, they were eligible, is my understanding. And when the department conducted public hearings, we testified at that time that they were going beyond this. The legislature told them to carry out the purposes of the statute, which is defined broadly. The department decided to define it narrowly. They then went ahead and probably amended their waiver with CMS to include the narrow definition. So when Mary comes in now and says, well, if you do this, you're going to violate the waiver, that's because they created it that way. But there's no reason why they can't include spinal cord and neuromuscular injuries to carry out the purposes of the act. And so we appreciate Senator Favela for introducing this, and we are, as I said, in strong support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe that's all the testimony we've received from individuals who said they would be present. Is there anyone else who would like to testify on this measure? Okay, I'd like to note the written comments submitted by the State Council on Developmental Disabilities. Members, are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, I'm inclined to go into decision-making and make my recommendations unless members would like to recess to discuss. Okay, so my recommendation is that we accept the requested amendments from the State Council on Developmental Disabilities and require the Department of Health to convene a task force to determine the feasibility of amending said criteria. And include on the task force the Department of Health, the Department of Human Services MedQuest Division, the Attorney General's Office, and a representative to be designated by the State Council on Developmental Disabilities, and any other necessary parties that the group sees fit. Any discussion?
Senator, there are also technical amendments.
There are also technical amendments. Thank you, Justin. Okay, seeing none. Okay, seeing none, we'll go to the vote then. Vice Chair, SCR 119, SR 93. The recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Moriwaki?
Aye.
Senator Sam Buenaventura?
Aye.
Senator Favela?
Aye.
Carry your recommendations adopted.
Okay, for the Committee
Thank
on
you very
Human,
much.
for the Committee on Human Services, same recommendation. Chair votes aye. Senator Ihara is excused. Senator Ocasio.
Aye.
Senator Misalucha. Okay, I guess excused. Senator Favela.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. My recommendation has been adopted. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We are adjourned.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, right on.
Adjourned.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We are going to convene this joint hearing between the Senate Health and the Senate Government Operations Committees to hear one Senate concurrent resolution and one Senate resolution. This is SCR 196, SR 134, urging the Office of the Governor to create a task force to develop recommendations to enforce the supplemental emergency proclamation to mitigate further spread of the coronavirus disease in Hawaii. First testifier we have for the Attorney General's Office, Lance Goto with comments.
Good afternoon, Chair. Let's go to the Department of the Attorney General. We have submitted just comments on this and made a suggestion to make some revision to one of the whereas statements just for purposes of accuracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goto. Next, we have Luke Meyer with comments.
Good afternoon, Chair. My name is David Lopez. I'm the Executive Officer standing in for Luke Myers for HIEMA. And HIEMA stands on his testimony. We offered comments and, of course, are available for any discussion. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the Prosecuting Attorney, City and County of Honolulu in support.
Not available, Chair.
Thank you very much. Jennifer Knoll in opposition.
Not available, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Here. Okay, so that's all the testimony from individuals who indicated they would be present. Is there anyone else on the conference who would like to testify on? Okay, seeing none, for the record, I'd like to note the written testimony of the following individuals who testified in opposition: Yulia Muschenko, Rasa Fournier, Craig Danzy, Melissa Iona, Catherine Lobendan, Madava Moy, Lori Jean Searcy, Elizabeth Diamond, Lisa Kerman, Jennifer McCognan, Jordan Sarah, Mark Beeson, Gary Decker, Banner Fanene. Yeah, that's it. Members, any questions?
Is HIEMA? Is anyone testifying?
Yes, Mr. Lopez, are you still available?
For HIEMA?
Yes, I believe we had David Lopez on for HIEMA.
So.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
I'm here.
Thank you. So did you look at the, I believe, Attorney General's proposed amendment to this resolution? I mean, it's not much. It's basically was meant to contain the spread and not deter visitor traffic.
Yes, ma'am. Our comment to this is that currently there's agencies and provisions for enforcement of these orders, and of course have been. And so, we want to be careful about duplication of effort for a task force to be codified at this time to perform the duties that agencies are already authorized to perform. So that's where what we put forth.
Okay, so basically, that was going to be my question, was whether or not there's going to be a duplication of effort, but, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
that's our concern. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Chair Moriwaki.
Yes, Mr. Lopez, I would like to ask what the role of HIEMA would be. We're looking at statewide collaboration of all the state enforcement agencies, and in collaboration with the counties, the police, and the prosecutor's office is also saying they should be involved. What is HIEMA's role? What would HIEMA be also? Should we include HIEMA in the discussion?
Well, HIEMA isn't an enforcement agency per se. The reason why we are involved in enforcement now is simply because it's under the proclamation, and the director of HIEMA is the incident commander. So in that relation to enforcement, we do have a small piece of that. I think outside of that, once it becomes codified, then it would fall fully into law enforcement versus emergency management.
So if this were to, the purview were to be emergency situations, HIEMA should be involved, at least in terms of setting the parameters and what law enforcement and what HIEMA and what the Attorney General's and Prosecutor's Office should be doing, and sort of the lanes that intersect, that be a reasonable thing to require?
Yes, ma'am, except that's already in existence under 127A, as well as the way our incident command system works.
So you do align with the Sheriff's Office in the state and the Attorney General's Office and the police department, so that, for example, when we had a quarantine problem, if you had that kind of working relationship, or was that sort of being developed on the fly, I guess, and you have a system now?
No, ma'am, we've had a working relationship with that. We have what's called an emergency support function for law enforcement, and that's part of our normal operating in emergencies, where we would coordinate emergency law enforcement support if required.
So not to belabor the point, but are there points of contact for the county police departments, the prosecutor's office, the Attorney General's office, and HIEMA? When there is an emergency, there is a specific point of contact that come together and align with what the problems are? How does...
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. There is, through our emergency operations center.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lopez, I'm wondering if whether, given that as a follow-up to that question, whether we should elevate the membership to include, instead of HIEMA, the DOD, because the National Guard does have an enforcement function if they're deployed during an emergency situation. They have facilitated multiple functions throughout the pandemic emergency orders.
Roger that, sir. And that's coordinated through HIEMA with what we call Emergency Support Function 20. So we're the central coordinating of the emergency, I guess you could say, pulse in that sense. And we have a variety of emergency support functions that reach into different systems, and we coordinate that response as necessary. So those touch points are already working within our incident management system.
And those are facilitated pursuant to the declaration of an emergency?
Yes, yes.
I guess my question is, aside from the emergency orders specific to the pandemic, if there is an emergency proclamation issued by a governor in the future that warranted the deployment of the National Guard, HIEMA would still be the designated state agency to coordinate those actions.
Not necessarily, sir. It's my understanding the governor has the power to activate without emergency. So in an emergency, though, HIEMA would be a key part of that, because we're also the central agency that helps with the proclamation and the coordination with the federal government as well. So that's, I guess you could say, that's where our play is. During normal operations or at other times, I'm almost positive the governor has the ability to call up the Guard as needed.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Members, any other questions? Vice Chair Baker.
Just for clarification, I've heard the term "I've" thrown around a couple of times we've been dealing with the resolutions. And I think it's important to note that these are statements by the legislature. We're not changing laws with resolutions. You have to do that with the bill. So I think if people are concerned that we're going to do something untoward with the statutes, that's not capable. That's not possible with a resolution.
Thank you. And if that's in reference to the numerous individuals who testified in opposition,
yes,
loud and clear. Okay. Okay. If there are no other questions, then Chair, it's okay with you. I think it's appropriate. We can just go right into decision making. Does that work? Okay. So I'm going to recommend that we pass this measure out with amendments we'll accept the Attorney General's amendment to one of the whereas clauses for clarity. Also, I'd like to change amend the first be it resolved clause to reflect that this task force work will apply to emergency proclamations generally, including but not limited to supplemental emergency proclamations related to the COVID-19 pandemic, so that it's not as specific and it can apply, into the use of emergency orders in the future, and add except the county prosecutors, the city and county of Honolulu's request that we add representatives from the county prosecutors' offices of each of the counties. Also, I'm going to recommend we add a member of the judiciary, a member of the Department of Public Safety, and given the nature of the discussion, Chair, I think we should add the Adjutant General and the Director of HMS, so that we're catching all of the different enforcement authorities in this working group, so they can all work together without somebody being left off the table. So those are the recommendations. Any discussion, members?
Sorry, Senator, there are also technical amendments.
And there are also technical amendments. Thanks, Justin. Okay, so seeing none, Vice Chair, SDR 169, SR 134, passing with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Moriwaki?
Aye.
Senator San Buenaventura?
Aye.
Senator Favela?
Aye.
Your recommendation's been adopted.
Thank you.
Same recommendation for Committee on Government Operations. Chair votes aye. Senator Dela Cruz?
Okay, Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye, Senator Chang.
Aye.
Senator Gabbard.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Recommendation adopted.
Thank you very much. We are going to adjourn that agenda, and we are going to convene our 1:20 p.m. health agenda to consider 3 more measures. The first is SCR 176 SR 141, requesting the Department of Health explore ways it can exercise oversight over community health centers and other medical service entities when a danger to community health exists. First testifier, Department of Health, in support.
Good afternoon, Chair Keo Kalole, Vice Chair Begg, and members of the committee, Lord Kim, Policy Officer for the Department of Health. The department will stand on its testimony in general support of this resolution, and we are standing by for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all the testimony we received on this measure. Members, are there any questions for the Department of Health? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the next set of measures, SDR 208 and SR 172, requesting the Department of Health convene a medicinal, psilocybin, and psilocin working group to examine the medicinal and therapeutic effects of psilocybin and psilocin and develop a long-term strategic plan to ensure the availability of medicinal psilocybin and psilocin to ensure that they're safe, accessible, and affordable for adult patients. First testifier, Department of Health, offering comments.
Good afternoon, Lauren Kim again. We are offering comments. We would like to highlight that two of the recommendations are to reduce the size of the group to make it a little more manageable and a bit less redundant. And second, to exclude cannabis dispensaries, which are out of scope for the title of this measure. So with those two, I will conclude my remarks and be available for questions.
Thank you very much. Next we have Thomas Cook in support.
Yes, hi there. I'm Dr. Thomas Cook, and I run a private psychiatry practice on Veritania, and very much in support of the working group and the other bill for designated treatment centers. And there's a lot of misconceptions about psilocybin, its dangers, and I think a working group is exactly what we need to clear that up and educate each other and look into it. For instance, a lot of medications that we prescribe can cause psychosis. Wellbutrin, amantadine, even Benadryl, a lot of drugs can cause delirium or even psychosis. And so the fact that psilocybin can cause psychosis really needs to be looked at in a nuanced way. And I think what we see in my field of psychiatry, we have another treatment, ketamine, that can cause psychosis. Also, it is one of the most profoundly healing things for depression. And it's now known to reduce suicide rates. And so we need really to change, we need a paradigm shift. And so a collection of experts to look at this issue is exactly what we need. And I think looking at it for the safety issue, we heard from Department of Transportation, and there's concerns of that with safety. I think looking at it in a nuanced way in comparison to other prescription drugs that we have, people driving around on Ambien already, can we even quantify the risk there as in contrast to psilocybin? And can we quantify the addiction potential risk, which I happen to know is quite low, but can we quantify it and put the numbers out there compared to other treatments we have? And also, finally, most importantly, the efficacy. And I think looking at that slowly and carefully is a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next we have the Clarity Project in support.
Aloha. My name is this for Dure or for Ashley? Just want to clarify.
This is Dure.
Okay. Thank you. Aloha, members of the committee. My name is Dure Shin. I'm the project manager for the Clarity Project, which is a local organization advocating for safe access to psilocybin for those who need it in Hawai'i. And just a few key points, I think, is that one, that it's natural, not addictive, and it's safe. And the addictiveness and safety is far more than drugs that are very legal and accessible on the market today, such as alcohol and tobacco. The other key point is that the research so far has been so groundbreaking that the FDA has twice in the past few years alone granted psilocybin their breakthrough therapy designation due to how groundbreaking the research has been and how effective it has been for things like treatment-resistant depression that they haven't been able to rely on traditional medicines for due to its low efficacy. The other key thing to note is that reputable universities such as Johns Hopkins University, New York University, Yale, Imperial College in London, UC Berkeley, and many others have in the past several years created centers for psychedelic research and other similar research institutions within the universities, specifically to study these issues that are really well funded and exploring a lot of amazing research already. So this is just part of a larger international and national movement that's simply acknowledging the science. Lastly, we all know someone who stands to benefit. Mental health issues such as addiction and depression affect all of us, whether it's ourselves or somebody we know. So thank you for your consideration, and we support SCR 208.
Thank you very much. Next we have Drug Policy Forum of Hawai'i in support.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members. My name is Nikos Libridge, testifying in support of this measure on behalf of Drug Policy Forum of Hawai'i. History shows that psilocybin has been effective in the treatment of a variety of conditions, including depression and post-traumatic stress disorder, and those unrelated illnesses. And what we saw was an emerging body of research in the 50s and 60s that would have advanced the science on this issue. But what happened, unfortunately, was the scheduling of it on Schedule 1 under the Federal Controlled Substances Act, which makes no sense given its relative lack of physiological dependence and its very low abuse potential. So this working group represents a very important step forward in making Hawaii a leader in this kind of research, and it promotes the health and well-being of some of our most vulnerable populations here, and we fully support efforts to make this more widely available, especially under medical supervision. Mahalo for the opportunity to testify today.
I'm on mute. Thank you very much. We have Clifton Otto in support next.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on this measure. My name is Dr. Clifton Otto, and I stand in support on my written testimony. I just wanted to emphasize a very simple amendment that I'm proposing for this measure that would encourage such a working group to look specifically at the interaction between the state authorized use of controlled substances and potential conflict with federal regulation. It would be very unfortunate if a medical psilocybin program fell into the same problems that our medical program is now encountering. And so that's why I'm proposing this simple amendment. I will be available for questions, and thank you for considering the testimony.
Thank you very much. Next we have Amanda Libridge in support.
Aloha, members of the committee. I'm Amanda. I am here in support of SCR 208. I do digital communications for Clarity Project, our therapeutic psilocybin advocacy group here. I also do marketing for a medicinal mushroom company based in Hawaii called Malama Mushrooms. So as you can see, I'm very passionate about the healing capabilities of fungi and creating access for the people. So to speak to psilocybin specifically outside of the scientifically proven transformative impact that it has had on some of our most pressing mental health issues such as depression, OCD, PTSD, addiction, and beyond. Psilocybin has played a monumental role in my own personal healing journey and trauma. I can say without a doubt that I would not have found the hope or perspective shift or healing from debilitating adolescent trauma had I not encountered this medicine. Psilocybin has offered me a second chance. It is not a drug. We need to evolve past this narrative. It is a tool. It is a medicine. It is an opportunity for growth. And when offered safely and in therapeutic contexts, it could serve as an incredible catalyst for change in what has been proven to be a broken mental health system. I believe that everyone deserves access to healing, equitable spaces, and the opportunity to explore better mental health better mental health solutions. So please, thank you so much for considering moving forward with this initiative, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next we have Ray Ivazian in support. Did I say that right?
Yes, sir. Ivazian is correct. Aloha, members of the committee. My name is Ray Ivazian. I'm here testifying or giving my testimony in support of SCR 208. I'm a retired United States Marine Corps combat veteran. I served 8 years active duty as a combat engineer from 2009 to 2017. During that time, I was deployed to Afghanistan, where my unit's primary mission was mounted and dismounted route clearance and security. Our job as engineers was to locate IEDs, UXOs, and other bombs and booby traps that were laid by enemy insurgents to allow safe passage for us and other units. I tell you this to try and emphasize the physical, mental, and emotional things that myself and my family at arms had to go through and endure during these times. Treatment is difficult as it's challenging for us to come to terms and acceptance of what we have done, seen, and gone through. But psilocybin has the power to heal a lot of these mental ailments. The FDA has granted this plant medicine as a breakthrough in mental health therapy twice in recent years. Creating safe access to this therapy for those who cannot find relief using traditional methods is imperative to show compassion to our local communities and gratitude to those who have served. In a recently published psychiatric report, it showed that more than 78,000 veterans have died by suicide between 2005 and 2017. Comparatively, the United States has lost 6,636 military members since it began its war on terrorism in 2001. Both of these figures are accurate as they are taken from the Department of Defense's website. And these figures are daunting, and it is blatantly apparent that we have a mental health crisis that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed now. I've lost more of my brothers to suicide than combat, and I'm tired of seeing my family in pain and struggling. We want to help and we need help. You have the power to give us this help by granting access to this plant medicine. By granting us access to this medicine, we'll be allowing individuals to seek treatment that will help them come to terms and acceptance with our mental struggles. And I say these testaments out of my own personal accounts and issues that I've gone through. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, offering late testimony in support, Ashley Lukens.
Aloha kako, members of the committee. My name is Ashley Lukens. I come to you today as a woman, a mom. I'm 37 years old, living with brain cancer. And I found psilocybin shortly after my diagnosis by reading Michael Pollan's New York Times bestseller, How to Change Your Mind. And learned about all of the research that's coming out of Johns Hopkins University and NYU treating cancer patients with end-of-life anxiety. I was able to access psilocybin in a legal setting in Costa Rica and went through a 3-day sort of plant medicine journey, and it profoundly impacted my relationship with my diagnosis and has allowed me to sort of come back to my life with a sense of serenity and peace and a willingness to kind of dig into what's left for me. I think those of us dealing with cancer at such a young age, the looming prospect of what's to come can be really overwhelming. And the fact that the research shows us that this plant medicine can absolutely transform and relieve those of us living with cancer with that anxiety actually helps us move towards all of the modalities written within radical remission, sort of purging negative emotions, accessing health and care, becoming an advocate for yourself. And so we founded the Clarity Project because we knew that I am not alone in someone living with a cancer diagnosis and wanting to change my perceptions of what that diagnosis should mean. And Oregon has already taken a step in creating a therapeutic framework for folks that could benefit there. And what this bill does is get that conversation started here in Hawaii so that we can be the second state that can offer our residents such transformative options in care. So thank you for the opportunity to testify, and it's nice to see some of you again.
Thank you very much. That's all the testimony we've received from individuals who indicated they would be present on to testify on this resolution. Is there anyone else on the conference who would like to testify? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to note the written testimony in support from the following individuals. Ruda Jordan, Kate Dolbert, Andre Vizquera, Michael Cole, Deborah Unyamaka, Dylan Ramos, Robert Poor, Rebecca Ives, Tiffany Rivera, Georgina McKinley, Kane Data, Thaddeus Pham, Alexandra Butterball, Tyler Crook, Christy Brown, Richard Reese, Ashley Ostendorf, Maria Graham, Janet Montgomery, Christopher Bell, Geneva Diaz, Travis Ussinger, Christina Braddock, Sarah Davenport, Yvonne Giese, Lexi Everton, and Robert Patterson. Members, are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move to the next set of resolutions on the agenda, SR 53, SCR 53, SR 35, requesting the Hawaii Health Systems Corporation to convene a task force to conduct a feasibility study for construction of a hospital in North Como. First testifier we have for the Kona Kohala Chamber of Commerce, Wendy Laros, in support.
Aloha, Chair Ke'oho Kalole and the Senate Committee on Health. My name is Wendy Laros, and I'm the President and CEO of the Kona Kohala Chamber. I've also been a resident here in West Hawaii for over 30 years. We are in strong support of Senate Resolution 35 and Senate Concurrent Resolution 53 that will convene a task force to conduct a feasibility study for construction of a new hospital here in North Kona. Mahalo to Senator Kanuha for introducing these resolutions. The Kona-Kohala Chamber of Commerce is a nonprofit member organization. We've got about 500 members, and these are businesses, organizations, and individuals that are representing a variety of industries in the Kona and Kohala districts on the west side of Hawai'i Island. We work to strengthen our local economy and promote the well-being of our community. Since our founding in 1968, the tourism industry has grown substantially in North Kona and South Kohala. This provides business and employment opportunities and has created population growth. Our hospital here in West Hawai'i has been proudly serving our community for over 100 years. However, it's located on the slope of Mauna Loa in Kealakekua in the South Kona district. And for people in North Kona, traveling to this hospital is difficult due to the distance. It can be 20 to 30 miles. There's inadequate road infrastructure, especially as you get closer to the hospital, and there's traffic problems throughout on the way to get there. Our positions are that we support increased and expanded healthcare services in West Hawai'i. We support constructing a new hospital in West Hawai'i. We also believe that a new hospital located in North Kona, closer to our new Hawaii Community College Kalamanui campus, will expand workforce development and employment opportunities for future generations here in our local community. We believe conducting a feasibility study is the first step in moving this project forward. Please support these resolutions. Mahalo for this opportunity to testify.
Thank you very much. Next is Linda Rosen in support.
Good afternoon, Chair Keoho-Kalole, Vice Chair Baker, members of the committee. I'm Linda Rosen, CEO for the Hawaii Health Systems Corporation, and also testifying on behalf of the West Hawaii region in support of SCR 53, SR 35. You have our written testimony. I just want to point out a few things. As the previous testifier pointed out, the location of the current hospitals in West Hawaii is problematic, considering where the growth, and perhaps you could call it the urban core, is. HHSC operates both Kona Community Hospital, that was just described, and also Kohala Hospital in the north end of the island. Whereas the Queen's Health System also operates North Hawaii Community Hospital up in Waimea. In our testimony, we point out that there really are today current unmet healthcare needs in West Hawaii, and we do have beds that are not necessarily occupied at this time, but could be occupied, and we could need even more beds if we had more services, especially subspecialty services. So we suggest in our testimony that the committee may consider broadening the scope of this task force to include a healthcare needs assessment for West Hawaii. Certainly the type and size of a hospital that you would consider should be based on in the context of all the healthcare needs of the region. And such a task force could produce a body of work that could help to better align services that we currently provide and provide a very sound basis for future plans for a new hospital for North Kona. So thank you very much. We also suggest that perhaps because one of the 3 hospitals there is operated by Queens in North Hawaii, that they might be members of the task force as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have J.P. Smith. Mr. Smith, you're on mute.
Try this again. I apologize. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this opportunity to testify before you today. In lieu of my written testimony, I'll give you the quick highlights. Is that our nation's healthcare system due to the COVID-19 has all but taxed our hospitals to the breaking point across the nation. And once the government's open pandemic checkbook is closed, you will see hospital closing at an unprecedented rate, and the inability of anybody being able to save them as their financial needs will be so far down the food chain to be funded that if you do not act as quickly as you folks are already started, it may be too late. I go ahead and applaud your proactive stance on how you're approaching this. However, we would like the opportunity to meet with your task force mid-April to show them a concept that we have here in the States that possibly could be the solution for North Kona. and have that task force ability to report back to the legislature prior to sign die, so that you folks can either give them more direction or have them proceed with us in coming up with a solution for your community. I thank you for this time and strongly support the efforts that you're doing, and that you support in passing both these resolutions for approval.
Thank you very much. Colette Masunaga.
Aloha Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Colette Masunaga, Director of External Affairs and Government Relations for Queens. We appreciate the opportunity to provide comments, and noting that we also support the amendment mentioned by Dr. Linda Rosen for the inclusion of a healthcare needs assessment for the West Hawaii community. Additionally, we just wanted to note that we believe the current makeup of the task force is sufficient in terms of allowing flexibility in designating additional representatives available for any questions. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public on the conference who would like to testify on this measure? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to note for the record the submitted written testimony on this measure in support from the Association of Hawaiian Civic Clubs Hawaii Council, the Kohala Coast Resort Association, Lemomi Khan, Kay Levine, Lori Gale, Janine Lowry, Sharon Sakai, Darlene Ellison, Joy Green, Joe Jasmine, Frank Sayer, Ross Wilson, Catherine Bukovic, Dustin Farger, and late testimony from Judy Donovan of the Kona Community Hospital, Stephen Bader, Rick Gaffney, Lydia Hopner, James Lee, the Hawaii Island Economic Development Board, and the Hawaii Leeward Planning Conference. Members, any questions? Okay, seeing none, with your indulgence, we'll go right into decision making. Okay, so for the first set of resolutions, SDR 176, SR 141, this is related to oversight of community health centers. The recommendation is to pass this set of resolutions out unamended. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair, SDR 176 and SR 141, passing as is, Chair votes aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Moriwaki?
Aye.
Senator Sam Buenaventura?
Aye.
Senator Favela?
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. Next set of resolutions, SDR 208, SR 172, related to medicinal psilocybin and psilocin. The recommendation is to accept the Department of Health amendments to the substance of the resolution, including changes to the title to clarify that the request is that the department develop a plan for long-term access. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. Vice Chair, SDR 208, SR 172, passing with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Moriwaki?
Aye.
Senator Sam Buenaventura?
Aye.
Senator Favela?
Reservations?
Thank you. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. The next set of resolutions, SDR 53, SR 35, is related to a request for a task force to conduct a feasibility study for construction of a hospital in North Kona. The recommendation is to pass these resolutions out with amendments, adopting the suggested recommendations of HHSC, adding a rep from North Hawaii Community Hospital, and expanding the scope of the task force to include a feasibility study of the healthcare needs of the, a healthcare needs assessment of the West Hawaii region. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair, SCR 53 SR 35, passing with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Moriwaki.
Aye.
Senator Sam Buenaventura.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much, members. Thanks for sitting through those multiple resolution hearings. Just a note, on Wednesday, we will be doing a significant number of GMs for board and commission nominees, followed by a Monday hearing on another significant list of nominations. On that note, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.